Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Degree 4th Sem additional reading passage. Is it okay to kick a robo dog? Written by Robert Sparrow. He is a professor and an ethicist from Monash University. Ethicist means one who talks about moral values. So now let us enter into the passage. Is it okay to kick a robo dog by Robert Sparrow? So here he talks about the ethics of some of the human beings who are very cruel to the robots, even the machines. He says it's not necessary to be cruel to the um, robots or the artificial intelligent machines, though they are not going to do any harm to us. Okay, or they might do some harm, but he says we should not divide ourselves from the values. So last Saturday night, a young woman out on the town of in Brisbane. Brisbane is in Australia, students here. See this in to the east side. In Queensland, this city is there, Brisbane. She saw a dog-shaped robo. Robo is in the shape of a dog trotting towards her and did what many of us might have felt an urge to do. So it was running towards her. Actually, it was doing its duty of patrolling or anything, but she thought it may harm her, and as an instant feeling, she gave it a solid kick in the head. That was an instant reaction from her. So, after all, who hasn't thought about lashing out at intelligent technologies that frustrate us as often as they serve us? Okay, these intelligent technologies, that means the artificial intelligent robots and all, they may serve us, but sometimes, they frustrate us also without knowing. Even if one disapproves of the young woman's action or sympathizes with Stampy the bionic quadruped. Stampy is the name of the dog, the robo dog, bionic quadruped. Quadruped means the animal which walks on four legs is called quadruped. It's a model also reportedly used by the Russian military. So Russian military is using this robo dog. Her impulse was quintessentially human. So they say it's nothing. Some say it's wrong to kick a robot dog, and some say no, it is a human instant reaction. When we see an animal coming towards us, that is the reflex action one any human commits. So this is the argument, students, throughout runs throughout the passage. How do we react to such things? So, as artificial intelligence and robotics are increasingly deployed to spy on and police us, so these are the robots which are used in the army forces, okay, as spies and police service control us. It may even be a sign of healthy democracy that we are suspicious of and occasionally hostile towards robots in our shared spaces. So they say it's a democratic country, but sometimes we are suspicious and hostile. Hostile means we hate it, like we dislike it. Okay. Nevertheless, many people have the intuition that violence towards robots is wrong. However, as my research has shown, the ethics of kicking a robo dog are more complicated than might be expected. So, author is telling, as according to his research, it's not wrong, he says. Okay. Robots feel no pain, but what about the people around them? Actual robots, when they were hit, they don't feel any pain, but the people around them, they may get shocked or they may get feel hurt. Okay, so were robots ever to become sentient? Sentient means knowledgeable, okay, sensible, capable of thinking and feeling, then it would be just as wrong to kick a robo dog as it was a real dog. Okay, if that robo is sensible and it's capable of thinking, then it is wrong to kick it, or maybe even a human being. But the robots we have today are just machines and feel nothing. So kicking them cannot be wrong because it hurts the robo. Just because we think that it hurts the robo, it is not wrong to kick it. Moreover, we still don't know what makes us conscious and have no idea about how to produce sentience in a robo. How to produce sentience means that sensibility, the feelings and thinking capacity is not there in the robo. So for the foreseeable future, we don't need to worry about causing robots themselves to suffer. That is the argument of the author. One obvious reason to criticize those who damage robots is that the robots are often the property of another person. Okay, though the robots don't feel, but they are the property. We have our own cars and scooters and two-wheelers and all. So he who may well be dismayed. Dismayed means surprised or feel very bad when their robo is damaged. This fails to distinguish damaging robots from damaging cars or bicycles and cannot explain why we might feel disturbed when we see someone abusing a robo or robo they own. Okay, though it is non-living, but we feel bad when somebody hurts it. That other people would feel upset when they saw me kicking a robo dog gives me some reason not to do it. But it's not a very powerful reason. Though other people don't like it, it's not a powerful reason, he says. Since some people may be upset by anything I do, including some things that are clearly the right thing to do. So even if I do the right thing also, there are some people who do not like it. So is kicking robots a gateway to real violence? So if somebody is kicking, does it show that the nature of the person is violent? So some philosophers have argued violence towards robots is wrong because it makes it more likely the perpetrator. Perpetrator means one who is guilty or perhaps witnesses will behave violently towards entities that can suffer. Abuse of robots may lower the barriers to abuse of humans and animals so that nature builds up in that person. Today he will harm the robots, tomorrow he will harm the humans and other animals. This line of argument, which has also been rolled out to criticize violent video games. So the people now the argument moves on to the video games. There are so many violent video games that war things and all, you know very well what video games are violent was actually developed by the 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant to explain why he thought cruelty to animals is wrong. Actually, he developed these violent video games to tell that we should not be cruel to animals. But actually, what happened? They became so popular, people started behaving violently. Kant denied that animals themselves were worthy of moral concern but worried that people who abused animals would develop cruel habits. So he argued that it affects their psychology also. These habits would cause them to behave badly toward those who do count according to Kant human beings. So they'll be cruel to the human beings also eventually. How we treat robots that represent people and animals might therefore have implications for how we treat the things they represent. It's hard not to feel the appeal of this line of thought. After all, the advertising industry is built on the idea that getting people to associate representations of things or actions with pleasure can change their behavior. So something is giving pleasure to us. Even if a violent action is giving pleasure to us, we feel like following it. So that is how the psychology works. That is the argument of Kant. So perhaps someone who enjoys kicking a robo dog may be more likely to kick a real dog in the future. So gradually they may start kicking the real dogs also. The problem with this argument is that it often doesn't bear out in real life when we look at the evidence. But the author says, no, this argument doesn't hold good. For instance, the claim that playing violent video games makes people more likely to be violent in real life is highly contested, means challenged, means it is not true. Most people can distinguish pretty clearly between fantasy and reality and may be able to enjoy representations of violence while still abjuring real violence. Okay, abjuring means to stop or to go against the real violence. So he says people are intelligent even if they are watching it or playing video games, violent video games. Their psychology will not change. They know what is good and what is bad. That's what he was arguing. So, what kind of a person would do that? So, but we cannot completely tell that all the people are good people. There are bad people, violent people, cruel people who get influenced by these violent video games. So, what kind of persons are they? An alternative line of criticism of violence towards robots, which I have developed in my own work, focuses on what our treatment of robots expresses here and now rather than how it might affect our behavior in the future. So, future now we are enjoying the violent kind of things or violent actions. In future also we'll do it. How we treat robots may say something about how we feel about the things that the robots represent. It may also say something about us. Means, see, a dog or a tiger robot may be very cruel to us or may be very furious. So we it affects our psychology. So instant reaction would be challenging them or fighting with them or protesting them, that kind of behavior. So the representation makes all the difference. So suppose some animal is very loving and pleasing, we don't hurt it. That's what the author is trying to tell. To see this, imagine you meet someone who treated male robots well but female robots badly. This pattern of behavior looks obviously sexist. So some may like male robots and they may not like female robots. So it's all in our minds. Or imagine you find your ex laughing with glee, means happiness, while they beat a robot made in your image with a baseball bat. It would be hard not to think this said something about how they feel about you. So it doesn't matter whether these actions make the people who perform them more likely to behave badly in the future. The actions express attitudes that are morally wrong in themselves. So, as Aristotle argued in the Nicomachean Ethics, this is the name of the book he wrote. One way to decide how we should act is to ask what sort of person would do that. So, it depends upon the nature of the person, and this book was written some 2000 years ago, students. When we think about the ethics of our treatment of robots, we should think about the sort of people it reveals us to be. That might be a reason to control our tempers. Even if we get angry and all, we have to control. Even in our relations with machines, or to give military and police robots in public streets the boot. Boot means kicking. Okay, we cannot do that. So this is an argument from the lengthy passage. Maybe you need to read twice or thrice to understand it. Let us move on to the comprehension questions. The first question is, the author reports that a woman impulsively kicked a robot dog. Why does the author call this act quintessentially human? The author calls this act quintessentially human because it is an inborn nature of any human to react the moment he or she spots an unexpected dog nearby. So coming towards them. That is quintessential means this is the ultimate nature of a person. Second question, what argument is made against violent video games and how is it countered? The argument claimed against violent video games is that they make people more likely to be violent in real life. They say that is the argument. It is countered, means opposed, saying that most people who play violent video games can distinguish pretty clearly between fantasy and reality. Means they are very sensible and may be able to enjoy representations of violence while still rejecting real violence. So in real life, they may not be that violent. Third question, what is the obvious reason to criticize people who damage robots? Do you agree with it? The obvious reason to criticize people who damage robots is that how we treat robots may say something about how we feel about the things that the robots represent. It may also say something about us. I do not agree with it because it's not necessary that these people are more likely to behave badly in future. If you say I agree, you can say I agree with it, and you have to substantiate your opinion, students. So you can deviate here. It's not necessary that you should say I do not agree. Okay, fourth question. What position does the author take on the question in the essay title? Explain his stance. You remember the title? Is it okay to kick the robot dog? The author concludes that when we think about the ethics means moral values of our treatment of robots, we should think about the sort of people it reveals us to be. That might be a reason to control our tempers even in our relations with machines or to give a boot to military. Boot means kick. to military and police robots in public streets. Okay, the last question: how does the author's way of looking at the action of kicking a robo dog connect to Nicomachean ethics, which was written more than 2000 years before robots were invented? Though the book Nicomachean Ethics was written by Aristotle 2000 years ago, it argues that one way to decide how we should act is to ask what sort of person would do that, which is quite relevant till today. Even today, it is relevant. That might be a reason to control our tempers even in our relations with machines. Robert Sparrow's point was to say that kicking a robo is bad, regardless of the consequences for the robo or even for other humans. His emphasis was on moral character of the human agent. So it tells us what sort of people we are if we are kicking the robos. So that is the fifth question, students. These are the comprehension questions, and there is an exercise. Find out the meanings of the following words taken from the essay. Use each word in sentences of your own. I'll tell you the meanings. You try to make your own sentence and write them in the comment section, students. Let me see how well you can write the sentences on your own. The first one is perpetrator. Perpetrator means guilty person. Second, contested means fought or challenged. Third, sentient means sensible. Fourth, abjure means reject. Fifth, impulse means urge. That means we have that urge to do it. Sixth, quintessential means fundamental nature, the basic nature of a person. Seventh, glee means happiness. Eighth, trot means brisk journey or walk. Walk very actively. The dog was trotting towards the lady. That's why she kicked the dog. Okay. So these are the words, students. Now try to put them in your own sentences and write them in the comment section. Okay, so let me see. Okay. Then yeah. Thanks for watching, and let us meet up in the next video. If this video tutorial made sense to you, please do not hesitate to like, share and subscribe, which means a lot. Bye bye for now. Okay, see you in the next video.